Welcome back to Skippers. Today we are going to be looking at must-add players for your fantasy baseball teams. Week 6, I believe. As always, this video is brought to you by FanDuel Canada. If you're going to be betting on baseball, if you're in Canada, bet on FanDuel Canada. You can watch the game, some of the best markets. And if you're in America, use that FanDuel tool. We appreciate them all. But FanDuel Canada is who sponsors this video. We have 4 players. I think they are better than last week. Let's get into all 4. First player is Luishill of the Yankees, 34% rostered so far this season. He's 2-1 with a 3.19 ERA. He has 40 strikeouts in 31 innings and a whip of 1.19. Someone has went to the Blake Snell School of Pitching, and things are working out really well for him. What exactly is the Blake Snell School of Pitching, you might ask? Limiting hard contact, walking a bunch of people, and then just striking everyone else out. He has a low enough whip that the real reason runners are getting on base is because he is walking them, not by getting hits. And when they are getting hits, not a lot of them are going for extra bases. Luishill has insane stuff. And the fact he doesn't really know where the ball is going at some points, well, it seems like that at least, has to be a nightmare for hitters. In his most recent start against the Orioles this week, he only walked one person, which is the next step you would think he needs to take for him to be a great option, even just in baseball, but especially for fantasy. Hill is over the 90th percentile in expected ERA, expected batting average, fastball velocity, strikeout percentage, and hard hit percentage. You tell me all those things and you don't tell me who the player is, I'd say you'd have a pretty good pitcher on your hands. His expected ERA is only 2.28. He's only given up 2 extra base hits on his fastball, and he has a 35% whiff rate on his slider. Hill is a hot hand you need to ride, as he strikes out a ton of people at this rate. If it dips significantly, yeah, he's a different pitcher. But right now, the way he's going, he's an awesome fantasy asset. The next player, Jose Brudo of the Mets. He is 26% rostered on the season. He's 0-2, but he has a 2.57 ERA. He struck out 31 in 28 innings, and his whip is better at 1.07. Brudo has been really good at getting swing and miss, and I don't think it's a secret to say that can lead to long-term success. Brudo is getting a whiff 1 on every 3 pitches to start the season, and the 26-year-old is striking people out at a 28% rate. I think he's a step down from Luishill, but they are doing things in a very similar way. His four-seamer averages 93.5, but he's only allowed 1 extra base hit on the pitch, getting a ton of fly balls as he attacks the top of the zone with decent enough extension and solid induced vertical break on the pitch. He's throwing his sinker into right-handers, and he is pairing that with a good slider to get a ton of swing and miss. Again, if you need pitching help, I think he is another solid option, a step down from Luishill, but still a really good option. Next, we head to a hitter, and it is Tommy Pham, who is 4% rostered outfielder now on the Chicago White Sox. So far this season, he hasn't played many games, but he's hitting 375. He has a home run, 2 driven in, hasn't stolen a base, weighted runs created plus, sitting at 174. What else should I be saying about Tommy Pham? He has been a great fantasy asset for years now, and it is insane that it took him for this long to be signed. I guess it might make a little bit of sense because they talk about how he's a bad clubhouse guy. No, as an older person, you don't know if you want to be messing with your clubhouse, but still crazy to me that he didn't get signed till this late. He's on a team that we know is absolutely horrible, but he seems like the perfect rental candidate to go to a contender at the deadline. When a guy doesn't have spring training, you worry about how his at-bats are going to look early on in the season, and Tommy Pham has gotten off to an awesome start. Let's not forget that Tommy Pham hit 16 home runs and stole 22 bases in only 426 at-bats last season, so the fantasy upside is alive and well. Last year, he was over the 85th percentile in xWOBA, expected batting average, average exit velocity, hard hit percentage, and chase percentage. He will struggle in the runs and RBI categories, I'm guessing, because of how the team is, but he will be a great contributor everywhere else. I am picking Tommy Pham up in 5 outfielder leagues, deep leagues, and I think he might be a must-add in 12-team leagues here soon if he continues on this pace. And lastly, we're going to do it. We are going to talk about Alek Manoah, 27% roster, 28% rostered, my apologies, of the Toronto Blue Jays. In AAA, during his rehab starts, he's 0-2 with a 6.5 ERA, 26 strikeouts in 18 innings pitched, and his whip is 1.67. This feels insane to say, but Alek Manoah has a path back to a bunch of playing time in the Toronto Blue Jays rotation. Yariel Rodriguez is down with his second back injury to start this season, and the other 2 main options, Bowden Francis and Ricky Tiedemann, are on the injured list at various levels. So Alek Manoah had a start that was on Tuesday night after it was announced that Yariel Rodriguez was going on the IL. So whether he knew it or not, it was a big pressure start, and all eyes were going to be on him to see if he could live up to it and if he was ready to be back with the big boys in the major leagues. And Alek Manoah absolutely delivered. He was up to 95.9 with his sinker and had a ton of depth on his slider when he located it down in the zone. He spotted 62 of his 92 pitches for strikes, and he struck out as professional best 12 hitters in the start. I'm lucky enough to get to talk to Chris Bassett a lot, and during spring training, he said the ball looked different out of Alek Manoah's hand. So before the injury, things weren't great. After the injury, things weren't great, but are we ready to say that this is a totally different guy that looked good at the start of spring training? I'm going to bet on it and say that he's looking decent enough and he's going to get his chance in the Toronto Blue Jays rotation. He's had his spring training outings now in the minor leagues instead of during spring training because he was hurt and is on schedule. Well, I don't think he is the Cy Young vote getter we're going to see 2 years ago. Alek Manoah is very capable of being fantasy relevant with all of the pitching injuries. I don't know who I want to drop him for, but he is a very capable arm who has shown us that he has the talent to compete at the highest levels of the major leagues. And I'll be in on him if he is this low rostered before he gets his first start, even if it is just a stream for one of them. Thank you everyone for watching Must Add this week. Thank you to FanDuel Canada for sponsoring the video. Let me know what you think of the players, anyone else you think we should be adding, and we will see you guys next week.